Hello, I'm Hebert. Today we're going to talk about what I'd like to call just a cycle of the evolution of thinking. So, how and why we started thinking, and then the next following video, I'll be focusing more on mathematics and some physics, but mostly like mathematics, fun stuff. Um, yeah. So, my previous two videos, we have to learn how to feel through body and spirit. So, in order to become happier and healthier as individuals and to work better as just like humans, we have to learn how to do everything body and spirit. So, when you do something, you do it with intention. What that means is you feel yourself doing it, you feel other people doing. Like when you sing, but you feel the others also sing. Or you sing, but you make somebody else feel you singing. Through this way, we connect. And then through connection, we have like bonds between humans. Through these connections, we can express ourselves, our emotions, and our feelings through literacy, audibly, or physically. So, in other words, through writing or drawing what we think or what we feel, the emotions, or like, because during events, you feel emotions. Sometimes it's more of like a drive, especially if you're sober, because if you're drunk or something, you don't really feel the event. So this is more if you're sober. But if you go to summers and you feel emotional, like some singer sings really well, after you can express yourself by writing about it, like in your journal, or by drawing in your journal. Also, same thing. You can also read about, if you become inspired by something, you can just read about it instead of writing. You can also write about it afterwards, but you can also sing about it. So if somebody sang really well, you feel like singing after, so you express yourself through singing. And then dancing is also a way of expressing, so which is more physically. So these are like tied in certain way, right? So once we've expressed ourselves from this connection and this feeling, we can experience these like once again, and then feel through body and spirit what was supposed to be expressed, and then try to repeat everything over and over and over. And this can happen like several times a day, where it's more like a spiral, where we feel something, but something can take hours to feel, versus other things take like seconds to feel, right? Versus other things like love, it takes like years to build and like to understand each other and stuff like this, where it's more like a relationship, right? Well, that's literally what it is. But some things take a long time, and some things take a shorter time. But all in all, we connect through one and another. Like this, when I mentioned spirit, it's as though saying like religion, where they talk about spirit, but they just don't. I don't mention religion because I don't think you need religion to use the spirit. I think we can use the spirit for teaching. So your teacher, anybody's teaching you, you vibe with the teacher to remember more. So you remember your homework. You can finish homework before you even finish the class is over, just by vibing with the teacher. So spirit is just vibing with somebody, but it's you can use it for more than like dancing or learning things here and there. So the more you feel you connect and you practice these, it's what I like to call soul. So what you get from this is you develop a soul. Your soul is like your trademark. Like if you do singing, it's your trademark of singing. So like if you were to hear yourself on the radio, you'd be like, oh, that's that person. But you'd also be able to hear your own voice in other people's voices. I can teach you guys how to sing, how to vocalize. But the minute when you start learning to sing, you notice that it's when they're singing, people that are known for singing, when they sing, they actually sing as other people, as themselves too. But then you'll just notice these things. If you learn to sing a bit more, you learn that your soul is actually everything you've developed. So if you go to school and you study like arts or science, you learn something. So anything you've practiced, even like presenting or writing stuff down, so like taking notes. You'd be surprised if you have a desk job, you always take notes. Literally always taking notes. If you have, so your soul is what you've practiced. So what you've taken time from your life and dedicated. That's what soul is, because somebody else can vibe as you, and if they can do whatever they can't do, or if they can't do something, so try to vibe as a baby. So think of a baby and try to do anything. It becomes difficult. Like they can't even pronounce stuff because their mouths, they don't even, like neonatal, so like just born. They can't pronounce stuff because they don't know what words are yet. You can say words, but you'll just try it, you'll see what I mean. And then try it as somebody who's practiced speech a lot. It'll be easy to say anything because they just practiced speech. And so even the colors will change. But that's more like once you practice and you learn how to do these things, then you learn, the more you practice, the more you can differentiate between people and like yourself. So the soul, let's say somebody works like framer or a welder or another trade. After like 20 years, somebody else can do the job as you, because you've done it so many times that it becomes like obvious. But you can train anybody. If you've worked that long in trades for that long, you can train anybody, especially if you're good and you paid attention to your work. So if you're proud of your work and you've done good work, then you can teach anybody, especially if you're really good. I noticed this about myself because I've practiced some things and I've noticed that I'm just better at some things than people. And you don't notice these things until you start like journaling and writing about yourself, but like comparing yourself to others through the things you've actually done. So not the things you've just thought of, but the things you've actually done. So like, for example, if you've done drugs all your life, that's what people will be good at doing as you. But if you were nice all your life, people will, like, if you've never swore, when somebody vibes with you, they will not even have the idea of swearing. Versus if you think of somebody and you vibe with somebody that swears all the time, it's literally going to be every second word. You have to like think of not swearing as them. But those are just examples that you can like think of your family and stuff like this. You can learn their characters, you can learn what they like to do, what they don't like to do. I will have another video about the types of vibing you can do and how to practice these, because it's fun. Once you learn how, it's fun. I'm rambling here, so I gotta stay focused. So soul, this is like your patent, the who you are. So like once you do the writing and journaling, you notice that you can write in other people's writing. That's your signature. It's your soul. It's who you are. How other people notice it's you. Your voice, like your mom's voice, you'll notice it wherever you are. After a while, you just know your mother's voice. It's pretty much the same thing, but like through all of her senses, both body and spirit. So like vision, smell, hearing, all of these, there's body and spirit. Just try smelling a rose and thinking of like your mother and telling your mother, smell through your nose while I also smell. You can smell the rose and she will also smell it from a town away. So back to this. So this here is my progress of like us evolving and learning, but like why we did it and my theory of like why we're even smart as humans and like other animals are not. So mathematics explains physics, explains chemistry, explains biology, explains ecology. Then ecology is a reason why we have mathematics to explain. So ecology is more like the environment, so plants and forests and the environment and just like around us. So sociology also, because it's the study of human nature, sort of, right? So, and then biology is like a body or cells, so more like one unit. Chemistry is within that cell, what reactions happen. Physics is explaining chemistry in more with numbers, so like their actual properties versus like chemistry is more like a general property of all the atoms. Physics is explaining the medium, so like the bell curve of the average of the molecules in this liquid, or explaining the liquid, how it's a liquid and like why it's liquid at this time, at this temperature, and these like constants, versus if you change one of the constants, how do you get like supercritical fluid for CO2 versus liquid or gas or solid phase? So how do you get these? Well, physics proves these things by literally calculating through mathematics their properties, so what they do. So we prove, so with mathematics, we prove physics with numbers and equations and calculations that are, you can repeat them over and over, like laws, right? Then through physics, we explain chemistry, because the average of the liquid is this temperature, so the average will react, and like we can guess how much the chemistry is actually going to happen. And then through chemistry, so we take parts of a cell and we explain biology, so how cells work. So we explain first proteins, which I'll make another video about. We explain proteins, we explain everything, like the structure, how everything works through chemistry. Then biology explains ecology, because it explains life and like how we have one type of cell and then another type of cell, or organism and an organism, and how they like mesh together to make an environment. So how a forest, it actually takes thousands of years, not just 100 years, a real forest, but for decay to happen over decay and decay. So like, so you have like layers of like moss and whatever else you'd have in there. It takes thousands of years. So like a new forest, 100 years old, is not the same as 1,000-year-old. Even it might look the same as to like an unexperienced eye, but in general, it's very different. So ecology also like the study of the atmosphere. So how space and the astronauts and like stuff like this. So like it's, then this ecology brings us to mathematics. But this in total, without arts, we wouldn't be anywhere. We wouldn't have any science. There wouldn't be any advancement. There wouldn't be any, nobody would really be inspired to do anything. We wouldn't have new shapes, new objects, new techniques, new ways of being, new songs. Like, think about everything. So without arts, so from, let's say a person, Newton, sitting under the apple tree and then the apple falls, that's the ecology, because the apple was there, the tree was there, he was just sitting there. So he was part of the environment. And so when he was dreaming of who knows what, the apple fell, and he was like, I'm going to explain this. Because he saw curves probably and stuff, and like gravity. And then that's how gravity, like he was like, oh, wait a second, we could just gravity this, you know? But through this, he explained it, because then you can explain curves and probably like thinking about the speed, the acceleration, all these things. He didn't have words for those, but if you can think of like gravity, because an object falls, and like explain. So he probably just tied an equation that already existed for something else to gravity, and it was either really close, and he was like, wait a second, so this curve sort of works like gravity. And then he probably modified it a bit and was like, I have it, eureka, gravity, this is gravity. And then used this formula, because if you look, gravity and static energy have like similar formulas, and like a bunch of other formulas are similar, because his formula that he came up with literally explained so many things. It was a very general formula, like Einstein equals mc squared. It's not really like, there's more, obviously. 2 equals mc squared, but it's a layman's term to say that light has weight to it. But what he's saying is there's energy, and to explain it, we used mathematics, because then we explained physics. Because with numbers, that formula, he explained the apple falling. So that explains this. And then with physics, the apple falling, we can like further, we can use that formula to like explain like the extremely small is like the extremely big. So an apple falling, gravity. Then you can like use it for static, which is electrons. So, you know, on and on and on and on and on. And then apply these formulas to like more things in life. So if you use gravity, you can actually use that formula to for sales, projected market, because it's probably exponential, or projected growth, or which products should be sold next. Like they can be applied. You just have to have enough creativity and enough imagination to actually use them, right? So creativity from ecology to math, because he was like dreaming probably, and the apple fell on his head, and he's like, how did this happen? Then he saw another apple or something. And then so he was like, so the formula is this, does this curve, and then physics, and then jumped again, and it was like, you can explain that this apple is almost like an atom, and then like sort of extrapolate this to chemistry for like protons and like acids and bases and stuff like this. So like just like literally protons bouncing around. And then biology, by explaining that like within a cell there's these things, and then within the external, so interstitial, intercellular space, like these have, somebody does not explain. Either way, chemistry, biology, ecology. With imagination, we go biology, ecology, because without thinking, we wouldn't know that like mosquitoes actually, only the females during a certain time eat blood. Most of the time, they're vegetarians. They eat nectar. Male mosquitoes eat nectar. They don't bite. Look it up. It's fun. Cool fun fact. So this is all about dreaming now. Where like without the numbers and the science side, we would need the art side to actually motivate them to continue the work. Otherwise, science actually becomes kind of boring. Even though if the subject's really fun, you need some sort of fun in life, like morale, like a little something to make you kind of like an extra. So something to like just keep you happy. Even if your work does make you happy, we all need a clown once in a while to like spice up our lives, right? So my kind of idea of this though is, 1 second. Okay, so arts is what keeps sciences together, and dreamers, they tie things together. So dreamers, you never dream alone. It's actually impossible. Just try. If you think you are, there's literally somebody on the other side. You just don't know it. So try dreaming alone. Dreamers tie ideas together because they literally, if you think of a smart person, you can literally do more stuff as an intelligent person. So if you just think of them, you can just do more stuff. But they become you. So if you're not intelligent, it's like, think of a baby, you become very like, yeah, you learn fast, but they don't know anything because they're babies. But try to think next of like your professor. All of a sudden you can do your homework super easy. But unless you actually work on your own homework and you do more exercises. So for example, another thing is, okay, so we have dreamers, These people tie dreams together because they tie like two smart people together. It's not an excuse to do drugs. We can do this sober, very sober. So there's no reason to do drugs. Just coffee, chocolate, honestly, just no sugar chocolate. So no drugs. Drugs, they're not necessary at all, because if we can learn to do this without drugs, it makes everything easier. So dreamers tie things together. Talkers, so literally people that express themselves audibly, they, how did I put it? They share ideas. So talkers, they share what dreamers have dreamt of, and they share their impressions of them. And then thinkers is more like engineers, where they're sort of dreamers, but thinkers advance things. So the dreamer thinks of a water bottle, so a concept. Talkers tell people, look, this guy's got a water bottle and it's pretty cool. It's a water bottle, but they just talk about it. And then thinkers, they think of the water bottle as, okay, what shape should it be in? Why should we have it? Like, how much liters should it have? Like, all of these thinking things. What's the material made of? Is it a twisty cap? What kind of like this? Like literally just every part of the material even. So like of is it gonna be cold, warm? So like these people, they don't care about the concept. They're just more trying to advance the concept. So like engineers mostly. And then doers is generally those who have money, or those who can figure out how to do stuff without money. So I built a lot of stuff when I was younger, just toys. I grew up on a farm, so I was pretty lucky with this, because my dad was a welder and then a farmer. But we had all the tools that I wanted to, and I built lots of stuff. I have no proof of these things, or lots of them, other than I can just rebuild them within no time. But that's like an example. That's what I mean, that like engineers, even if you don't have a degree, you can be extremely intelligent and better than a lot of other engineers. But just compare yourself by doing this. This is extremely important, because this way you can determine what your value is, what you're worth, but also it's for your own confidence, so that you can you recognize what you've done. Because I'm 32 actually, but like a couple of years ago, I was an alcoholic, whatever, and like life was going to the areas I didn't want them to, so I had to change something. And then October 19th was my last day of drinking, and I started doing these things myself, and I even went to a therapist and stuff too. So like, this is just my way of, if I show you these things, maybe you could be a happier person and people in general, and just because it explains life. My next videos you'll see. I'll tell you more after. I hope this was pretty good. The introduction, define, and exemplify is for so there's 3 days. Okay, anything to learn from when you first learn the concept takes about 3 days of like focused work to understand it. So the first day you're introduced to a concept. So for example, somebody shows you how to sing, that you can actually like do this and do that. The first day you're like, no way, I didn't know. Okay, and then who cares, right? So for the first day, it's almost like that. Second day, you're like, yesterday somebody did something and it was interesting. So you like practice singing for a bit, because then you realize, okay, so what is this? You define it. You like, so if I sing this way, or if I sing, and then do I move this up or down? So like really, what is singing? And then on the third day, you learn to sing, and you learn vibrato, or you learn the passaggio, or you learn what is tessitura, or you learn like literally everything, or you learn your posture, if your back is straight. So you're like supposed to, like the back, you learn your posture. So, but this is like day 1, 2, 3. This can happen. This works with like most things. Even if you're like in trades, you can tell your foreman, it takes me like 3 days to learn something, and then you will just show them. First day, you will be introduced to all the concepts, and you'll be like, okay, so this is a tape. If you're framing, it's a little silly, but like, this is a tape. This is your hammer. To swing the hammer, you don't like just do your elbow. You actually like drop your arm. It's to protect your elbows, because if you always throw from the elbow, you're gonna get like pain, and it's not good. So you have to like drop. There's literally a proper way to throw a hammer, so you don't get hurt. But the idea is that the first day you're introduced to something, so marking them. The second day you like ask, okay, so he sort of did the marks, showed me there's marks. Okay, so now why did he do this? Is it 16-inch between? Is it at the star or the little triangle on the tape? Like, what are these things? So you define them in your own way, and then you sort of you should best if you could write them down. Not everything, because at first it's a lot. So write notes in your own way so you understand it. The third day is, once you understand the concept, you exemplify. So you try to take the concept and apply it in as many ways as you can through the expression ways. And when you can explain, you can introduce a subject to somebody and explain it to them the first day. That's when you understand it. Because otherwise you stay at define until you define it. And if you never put the effort to define something, it just stays a concept. It's like if you, at high school, if you start drinking after high school, your talents and abilities and everything like this, like what you've worked on, will stay at that level until you quit drinking. I know this because this happened to myself. Since I quit drinking within a month or two, and then like a couple months after, like it was so fast. Like I just learned everything. I connected to people, literally in my community, people you would have no idea. And then the more you write about stuff, the more you realize that like we're actually all connected. Even if you don't want to and you avoid certain people, you sort of, a good reason to stay alive is to know that people want you to stay alive. They might not tell you why, or they might not tell you why they like you, or they might not tell you, what about you is like, I do this because of you, but I'm not gonna tell you. Like, those little reasons, the more you journal, the more you realize that when you journal, you can think of somebody, if you have a crush on them, or they have a crush on you, to figure out, you can just look at your face while they think, because then they'll blush. And they won't even know why they're blushing. But if you look at yourself in the mirror and you think they'll blush. That's how they know. Also, last second video thing here. If your kids look at you and stare at you and just say like, "Mommy or Daddy, I love you," you should see purple. Purple is like a good thing. So that's good for now, I think. To the next video.